All right, we are now going to work through problem number 7. And I went ahead and typed that into Desmos, and this is the graph I got. So we'll use that to check our work. One thing I kind of like to do is I like to factor. And so that's probably going to be what I need to do first, is I need to go through and factor this function. And when I factor this function on top, I am looking for two numbers that multiply to 3 but add to 4. Now the two numbers that multiply to 3 and add to 4, that's 3 and 1. And so this on top factors into x plus 3 and x plus 1. And that's going to be divided by I can't, there's close enough. Let's see what this factors into. So, same process. What multiplies to negative 2 but adds to negative 1? What multiplies to negative 2 and adds to negative 1, that would be negative 2 and 1. And so this part here factors into x minus 2, x plus 1. And so let's go through and we're going to find, I usually try to cancel, see what cancels here. And I can see that these cancel. So that we know our whole is going to be at 1. Our whole is going to be at 1 something. And we'll fill in where in a second. And then this part right here, remember this is my vertical asymptote. It did not cancel with any other x minus 2's. So my vertical asymptote, what number minus 2 is 0? That would be 2. So I have a vertical asymptote at x equals 2. And as you see, look, there's my vertical asymptote at x equals 2. And I see my whole is at negative 1 something. So how do you find that whole? Oh, and I messed up. Good thing I have that graph. Because it's not 1, it's what number plus 1 is 0. So this should actually say negative 1. Negative 1. Actually, let me just make this nicer. And I'll put negative 1. Almost made a mistake. Now, how do you find where? Well, when you keep working on this, and these cancel, you get x plus 3 on top, and you get x minus 2 on bottom, because those cancel. And I really should add in some equal signs. So that equals that, and this also equals that. And so if I want to find the whole, I need to plug negative 1 into this function. And when I plug negative 1 in, negative 1 plus 3 would be 2. So negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. And normally we pull the negative up, and that gets negative 2/3. Remember, negative 2/3 is negative 0.66666. And if I look at my graph, negative 1, that looks to be about 2/3 of the way down. So I know that my whole is at negative 2/3. At least the y value is at negative 2/3. Now let's talk about the horizontal asymptote. Horizontal asymptote remember, we look at the degree. So the degree here is 2. The degree here is 2. When they are the same, we divide the coefficients. And 1 divided by 1 is 1. And looky here. See that nice horizontal asymptote at y equals 1, the green one? So we've already talked through all of this in the last video, but the new part is the x-intercept. So I can see that I have an x-intercept right here. And I can get that from the graph that it's at -3. But remember, if I wanted to find the x-intercept, this was what I reduced to. X-intercept is when y is 0. So when this is 0. So I'm going to set that equal to 0. And let's see if I do this. That did not work the way I thought it would. Oh, yeah, it will. So when I set this equal to 0, and then I cross multiply, 0 times anything, that makes 0. And then when I take 1 times anything, I get the same thing back, so it's x plus 3. So what number plus 3 is 0? I subtract 3 from both sides. And I get x is -3. So my x-intercept is at -3, 0. And we can see that by the graph as well. Now what's the y-intercept? Looks like the y-intercept is right here. Now how do you find that y-intercept? Well, to find the y-intercept, that's when you plug 0 into your function. And you're going to plug it into the simplified function. So I'm going to plug 0 in right here. So I'm going to put 0 there and 0 there. And 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 minus 2 is -2. Just to make this less stuff in the way. So I would get 3 on top, -2 on bottom. And that'd be -1.5. So it looks like my y-intercept's at -1.5. Now, does this look like -1.5? Yes, it does. So there's my y-intercept. So I have identified horizontal asymptote was y equals 1. See it by the picture. I said the vertical asymptote was at 2. I can see that by the picture. My x-intercept is -3,0. That's on the picture. My y-intercept was 0, -1.5. That's on the picture. And my hole is at -1, -2/3, which is right here. There's a hole right there. Now on Desmos, when you're graphing, it won't show you a hole, but if you go click right there on the graph, it'll say undefined, and that's how you know there's a hole right there. So the holes are probably the hardest to find if you're trying to do all of this graphically. All right, so this is the end of problem number 7. I will make a new video. I guess I don't know how to count for problem number 10.